We've lost the heart of mourning. Older traditions and cultures celebrated a lot, but they also knew how to mourn. Our generation carried on that tradition of celebration, but we kind of dropped the heart of mourning. Yet, even though we've done that, our generation seems to be the most depressed. One big subculture in our society is the worship of positivity. We want everything to us always feel good. And for many in those subcultures, it's all about positivity and nothing else. No negativity. Don't bring negative vibes and negative energy near me. You know the kind of people I'm talking about. You have some of them as friends. No downtime, no solid time. Just fun over and again. And maybe some rest in between the fun. There's another angle to the reason why we've lost that art of mourning. There's a strand of Christianity that taught for a while, and maybe still teach, that grieving is bad. They had reasons why they thought that, though. There was a period, especially in the US, where a lot of people grieving the loss of a loved one actually lost their own lives in the process of grieving. And some preachers seeing that, no, this is wrong, they sought for theological ways of pushing back against that dangerous way of grieving. So that was the reason why they pushed against it. Bashing what is biblical and scientific is wrong. So it's high time we retrieved and recovered that tradition of mourning. You may want to ask why. Number one, it's just common sense. If we celebrate the good things of life, I think it is also appropriate we mourn the bad things in life. True worship and spirituality is a whole experience and involves all the emotions and all kinds of human activity. It's not one-sided. That's what I'm trying to say. True spirituality and worship is not one-sided. And as I've already said, mourning is both biblical and scientific. Here are some scientific reasons to mourn. If you don't grieve, in many cases, you don't actually heal. I'm sure you've all heard of that 5 grief stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then finally acceptance. We don't do acceptance very well. We don't actually accept the reality that this is what it is. We try to block it out, and we don't want the negative energy. But that's the scientific angle. We don't do acceptance very well. But it's an important part of grieving. But there's also the biblical angle, like I said. For one thing, Paul's statement comes to mind when he was talking in Romans 13. He said, rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. We seem to have focused so much on rejoice with those who rejoice, which is good. Again, the very first video of the year, we talked about celebrating. It's good. We need to celebrate. But he went on to say, mourn with those who mourn. Basically, Paul was teaching us to be a good neighbor. When somebody has experienced something good and they're celebrating, go join them and celebrate with them. And when somebody is going through tough times, maybe they've lost a loved one, go be a good neighbor. Go mourn with them, weep with them, inhabit the situation with them. But deeper than being a good neighbor, when we look wider, we know that there is evil and horror in our world. Evil still exists. And like I said in the last video, knowing God involves seeking His justice. So yes, we should be celebrating, but also yes, we should be mourning. As the wise son in the book of Proverbs says, better to live in a house of mourning than share a table with fools. Or as Moses says in Psalm 90, teach us to number our days so we may apply our hearts to wisdom. And as Jesus himself taught, blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Again, mourning is one means by which we come to know God. We know that the scripture says God is love. But I remember hearing this from one of my favorite teachers. He often says that grief is also a form of love, and it and it holds its own epistemological value. Now, those are big words. Epistemological just means knowledge, how you gain knowledge. So his point was, those who grieve, it's another way their love for people as is manifesting. And because God is love, grieving also helps us to get to know God. God himself grieves over his people. Remember that passage when Christ was uh, about to go for his final mission on the cross. He looked over Jerusalem and said, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how I have longed to gather you, but you are not willing." God himself mourns over his people. And if we really want to know God as we celebrate through 2026, let us also be prepared to mourn the evil that we see in our world. God is love. Grief is a part of love, or another form of love. And knowing God certainly requires that we learn to mourn the evil in our world. God bless you.